Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here with another video, this time, the next Jason commentary. And now we're up to Jason Goes to Hell, which is a very controversial film in the series, and I will lay out my good points, my bad points from the movie, and how I feel about it in general as I go through it. Now, without further ado, if you want to link up with me, timestamp set to 0, counting down in 3, 2, 1, pressing play now. Alright, 1993, baby, Jason Goes to Hell. Of course, most people know at this point that this was when Paramount sold the rights to Friday the 13th to New Line Cinema because Jason Takes Manhattan was the most expensive one to make, and it underperformed very drastically. And I don't even think that was even. I mean, that was probably partially the waning of the series' popularity, but also just because Jason Takes Manhattan is not very good. And I'll go ahead and say it. I still stand by Jason Takes Manhattan, in my opinion, is the weakest film of the entire franchise. Alright, we're starting off here. We're back at Crystal Lake. I actually like that. We had a New York adventure last time. Now we're back in the old lake town. I like that they bring it back to Crystal Lake. Although it probably would have been fun to see Jason in like coming out of the New York sewers and slaughtering some more people. But still, though, I'm glad they returned back to the camp or the lake area. I mean, this opening is really good. Most people, even people who don't like this movie, give credit to this opening with this whole FBI sting operation set intact. I mean, it would have been cool if they would have had like a scene linking directly to Jason Takes Manhattan more about how Jason came back or whatever. But truthfully, at this point, you don't really need a scene. I mean, at this point, it's the ninth movie in. We know Jason can pretty much survive anything. So even though there's a time gap between this and Part 8, you can just say, well, Jason survived for whatever reason because he's Jason. He got up and came back. Or just that the character was hallucinating at the end of Part 8, and that wasn't really Jason, it was just like another fake vision of hers. But yeah, the original like draft for this movie or whatever was going to be called like The Dark Heart of Jason Voorhees, and they were going to have Elias Voorhees, who they wound up keeping that name to use it for the father, um, which was also going to be the name of Jason's father in Jason Lives. But they were going to make that the name of the brother of Jason. They were going to have Jason's evil brother Elias, who was like more evil than Jason, like eat Jason's heart. And it was going to be a direct sequel to Part 7, ignoring Part 8. And Jason's heart was going to be like so powerful, the evil was. It was going to be like trying to break out of his body, and Tommy Jarvis was going to be the hero. I'm not sure that would have worked either, because it would have took it back to more of a story driven type idea. But having like Jason's long lost brother as the villain is like, you just don't need that. It has to be Jason. Jason has to be the focal point. If that movie would have come out, some of those ideas may have played smoother or whatever in that script, but having Jason not as the villain, you would have fucked up. I mean, this movie is controversial, but taking out Jason entirely for a new character that just now appears, you would have fucked up even worse. Uh-oh, we're getting some boobage. I feel it. Here it comes, baby. She's luring Jason out with the power of nudity. Of course, at this point, um, you're not supposed to know yet, but she's an FBI agent setting Jason up for a sting operation to blow his ass away. Oh, the J-Man cut the power. Where is Jason? Oh, he's not down there. Huh, must not be here. Oh, shit! Surprise attack from Jason. I mean, Jason's look in this film is supposed to be inspired from, like, the New Blood, similar style to that. The way he looks here, though, really makes it feel like it's connected to Part 8, though, because the fact that he's all burned up and everything, and his, like, mask is, like, melded into his face, like, swollen into it, really makes you feel like he was hit by the toxic waste from the last movie. Even if that's just a coincidence in terms of the movie, it really does help the continuity. So, in my opinion, I just figured Jason just regenerated from the ending of the last movie. Like his inner little boy was left. Just picture that version, like regenerating back to the big Jason, and there you go. So at this point, the movie just feels like a basic Friday 13th. Jason's back. He survived the toxic waste. He's back at Crystal Lake, hacking everybody to shit. So at this point, it's just another Jason movie. Until we get the surprise FBI. I love this opening with the FBI showing up and everything, but the fact that all these people were able to set up this trap in Jason's woods without him knowing about it, that is a little surprising. But I do like the fact that they blow him out of hell. Okay, right here in the opening of the movie, Jason is dealt his worst defeat yet, even worse than the toxic waste melting, by being blown to pieces by bombs. His heart's still beating though. Not a good sign. We got the character of Duke over here in the woods. In my opinion, the character Duke here could have just been the main character of the movie. You didn't really need all these other characters that end up showing up, even though I like the character of Stephen Freeman in this, played by John D. LeMay, who was in the Friday 13th TV series, which had nothing to do with the movies, but he was good in the TV series too, and that was a good show. But yeah, he's good in this movie as well. But yeah, you could have just made this whole movie centered around the Duke character because he's the one that knows everything about how to kill Jason and he's a bounty hunter. You could have just rewritten this just to have it be about him trying to kill Jason with the dagger and just remove the blood relative thing. You could have just done it like that. Of course, at this point, it's like, well, Jason's blown up. So, how are they going to resurrect him again? That's pretty much what you're thinking at this point. But lo and behold, boy, does it twist and become something totally different than a standard Friday. In this movie, we get the adventures of Jason's body-swapping heart, which is definitely a new take on the material. After Part 8, though, you can't really blame them for wanting to do something really different. I'll say this about this movie. Ultimately, I do enjoy this movie. I don't hate it. But at the same time, this movie does make the mistake of making things too different. What this movie does is it just doesn't spice up the material like, say, Part 7 did, where it was trying to freshen it up by adding a psychic. This movie, like, completely reinvents the material, which is the reason why it's so divisive. If you don't like the new direction for the movie, you're not going to dig this movie. I'll say this, these credits do take a little bit too long. This movie was directed by Adam Marcus, who is a pretty nice guy in real life. I've talked to him on Facebook a few times. He's a pretty cool guy. He's easy to get along with. His idea for this movie, of course, comes from the fact that there was never really a mythology built for Jason, and with this being the supposed final movie, he had to invent all the mythology from scratch. Because pretty much Jason at this point in the series was considered to be just a mentally handicapped kid who drowned by accident and then came back to life as a spirit of vengeance or whatever. That's pretty much it. That's all Jason was meant to be, just like a super version of a Revenant or whatever. Um, in this movie, though, they wanted to add like all this big epic mythology to Jason to explain every detail about him. It's the same thing that the New Line did with Freddy and Freddy's Dead. It worked not very well in Freddy's Dead, and here I do think it works a little better because at least you got the Necronomicon explanation for Jason for where his powers came from or whatever. That his family basically like practiced black magic or whatever. So at least you get that explanation, which is better to me than at least than flying sperm worms from Freddy's Dead. Little funny jab there from the corner. This guy's deader than shit. That's pretty funny. Got Harry Manfredini back doing the score, who does the score for most of the Friday teams. I think the score here is okay. It sounds fine. Stay away from the heart. I do think this movie is overly. I can see why some people wouldn't like this one. I can understand why this movie is controversial. But at the same time, the people who really hate this movie, they do overly nitpick the film. There are some things in this film that I've heard overly nitpicked by people in rant videos on YouTube that are easily simply explained. Like I heard people say, "Why does he eat the heart? Why does he eat the heart right here?" It's obvious. It's hypnotizing him. It's possessing his mind. You can tell from the way the actor's playing it and the fact that the heart's beating like in sync with him, like looking weird at it. He's being possessed. It's obvious. And it always struck me as weird, like when people make videos ranting on this movie and they're like, "I don't understand it. Why do you eat the heart?" It's like it's obvious. I just love the pure what the fuckness of this movie. Oh, for anyone wondering, this is the R-rated version. I wanted to watch the uncut version. I've seen it 1,000 times though, so I know pretty much all the differences and everything. I know what the changes are in the unrated version, but I had to stick with the R-rated version simply because this was the one that I had a copy of online, and I just didn't think about it like really. So I didn't want to search for hours to find the uncut version online somewhere. Of course, we got Kane Hodder here as a fellow security guard FBI agent, which is kind of neat. Of course, this is funny. The other dude in the room doesn't realize that he's mouthing off about Jason, that Jason is inside the black coroner's body. Good gore there with the dude like getting his face pulled out of the grate. Of course, a good gag here where Jason kills Jason. It would have been neat if they would have had him like possess Kane Hodder's body. That would have been cool. Oh, here's the Robert Campbell character from American Case File. I like that Jason has become like nationwide now, which at this point in the series it would make sense because he's killed like almost over 200 people. Yeah, they throw out the Jason, like his father's name here with Elias. It would have been cool if they would have maybe been able to have like a flashback or something of Jason's interaction with his dad for the first time. Ah, time for the Duke interview. Well, that makes me think of a little girl in a pink dress sticking a hot dog through a donut. Now that shit is hilarious. Of course, this is all new information we haven't heard about Jason yet, which begs the question of how the hell does this guy know at this point? And it feels like it's coming out of nowhere in the franchise. But I'm willing to wait on the movie to see what in the hell is explained more as the film goes along. course, we got a Jaws reference here with them willing to pay Duke the money to go take out Jason. And for that, you get the mask, the machete, the whole damn thing. Of course, Jason has a sister in this one, which begs the question, is she a half-sister? Because she would kind of have to be. Because Mrs. Voorhees said that she never had any more children, and since they never explained, like, is she connected to Mrs. Voorhees or not, you have to assume that she's a half-sister. He'll take a Voorhees burger and a side of Jason fingers. Now that's some more funny shit. I love the fact, though, that we see the town here trying to, like, profit off Jason's popularity or infamy. Oh, here comes Billy Greenbush to the rescue. Why don't you blow me, Chief, after your girlfriend gets through? That shit's so funny. Duke is great here. I love this line. She ain't had a taste of the Duke yet. Stephen Williams is great in this role. Seems to think Jason's coming for ya. We got an introduction of John D. LeMay right here as the Stephen Freeman character. Designated hero of the film. He's nerdy, but he's also like some type of jock, it appears anyway. Oh, here comes the obligatory camper scene. Oh, we can't have a Jason movie without a camper sequence in it. Do we get the obligatory camping scene coming up here? Now, why the hell did this guy bring two chicks with him? I mean, you could say maybe he wanted some three-way action, but he doesn't even try for the redhead. Well, it's good to be back at Crystal Lake. Of course, Jason's half-sister still lives in the lake area around the lake, which is just retarded, but at the same time, though, I like that. I'm willing to let that go because I like that better than Jason having to go to, like, Los Angeles or something to find her. Jason's gonna take you out with a scalpel. Or, well, Black Jason will, anyway. Oh, they're gonna start having unprotected sex right after she goes and pisses in the exact same spot as the redhead. This actress here with the black hair was actually, her name is Michelle Clooney, I think. She was actually in the TV show Queer as Folk, which I never watched one episode of, but I have heard that she was an important character in that, or at least she was in it. Not sure if her character was important or not, but I've heard that she was in it. Once again, I've never watched it though, but maybe I should, I don't know. But she definitely living through this one. Yeah, just not having Jason in this movie will automatically lose the majority of fans. But if you can get past that and be intrigued by the new plot line, I think that they do it decently. The possession plot. Oh, Jason sees the screwing in the tent. Not a good sign. And he stepped on the condom, which is hilarious. Now, you didn't see this, or I didn't see this here, but in the unrated version, you get to see him like directly slice her in half, which is a badass death. So yes, without further ado, the unrated version is much better than the theatrical cut. The theatrical cut is very neutered in terms of the gore, and K&B did the effects, and this is some of the best gore, if not the best gore, of the series. At this point, this is an alright movie. I'm enjoying the kills for the effects and everything, but I'm still missing that classic Jason feel. I would have liked more info on Jason's like half sister here about what does she actually know about Jason, what she know about her family lineage. I mean, once again, you could have just like rewrote this movie to where it just focused on her and Duke, or Duke by himself, or just her, and you could have just like went into Jason's family history much more and explained a lot more and delved into the whole family plot more that they wanted to go with in this one, with Jason's half sister and all that. And it would have been, I think it would have been much more interesting. Jason has to be reborn to a living relative, given his half sister's the only one left. She's the only one he can use. Now here comes a policeman for Jason to take out. Jason's not a big fan of the Popo. The cop's character's name is Josh, and Jason's motto is "Fuck the police." Only thing Jason hates worse than coppers is campers. I like this head crushing the door here. Still seems like Jason should just went directly after his sister right here, though, because she was just like right over in the diner. Instead, he goes directly after the other two who happen to be outside. Now, of course, we learn later that the bodies eventually run out of energy or whatever because he uses up the life force that's in them. But at the same time, though, it seems like he would have had enough time to go for the sister. Here we get the obligatory shaving scene, which comes out of friggin' nowhere in this movie. Of course, Adam Marcus kept it in the movie because he knew people would be talking about it years later, because there's no rhyme or reason for it, it's just weird. Which, on one hand, I can get that, but at the same time, it's almost too weird for a Friday the 13th movie. It just doesn't fit at all. But then again, this is not really a Friday the 13th movie. This is any standard horror movie at this point. This is not a Friday the 13th, like, which is why this movie both has fans and has haters. I like that Jason is made more powerful in terms of, like, he can switch bodies now and possess people. But at the same time, though, the way it's done is, like, it doesn't really fit the Friday the 13th mold at all. Oh, there's Jason's niece. The dude who plays the American case file guy on here, or whatever, I think the actor's name may be Stephen Culp. I'm pretty sure he played the father in James and the Giant Peach. When he gets possessed by Jason, he really plays up like the Terminator factor. It really comes off like the T-1000. Yeah, at this point, this movie's either gonna make or break you because now he's like inside the cop's body trying to get his sister, played by Aaron Gray, who's famous for Buck Rogers. and you can see like Jason's actual like body reflected in the mirror. So it's like Jason's a supernatural, like spiritual being now. So this is a much more of a standard possession horror flick at this point, and pretty much for the rest of it. So this is not a Friday the 13th movie. So you either this will either lose you, or you will be having fun for what, just enjoying it because it's something new. Yeah, Jason is like in the form of his heart that's like a living being, and it's carrying his spirit from body to body. This is much more like a sequel to The Hidden than it is a Friday the 13th movie. But yeah, as I've said before, you'll get two camps of people with this flick: those who can accept the movie for what it is and judge it based upon what it is, and then you'll get people who would just hate it for what it isn't, which is it's not a Friday the 13th movie. I like that Jason, like inside the cop's body, looks in the mirror and he's like shocked to see himself in there, and it causes like mental conflict, and then he gets pokered through the back and out the window. Of course, a poker through the back and out the window is nowhere near enough to stop Jason after everything he survived up until this ninth movie. At this point, Jason's character is all but invincible. Yeah, I wish that Jason's sister would have lived longer. It seems too early to kill her off in the movie because you could have had a lot more. You could have went a lot more with that family dynamic and everything. And unlike the other movies, this movie focuses much more on adult characters. So it would have been cool if you would have got like more backstory on like the Voorhees family and stuff in this. And this is definitely the movie to do it because this is the one that's trying to delve into most into the mythology. I like that the Steven character here, played by John D. LeMay, gets pretty much framed for the murder. Not something Jason planned, but it does work out in no Jason's favor. And the dude here who plays the cop friend of the Stephen Freeman character is Kip Marcus. He's the director's brother. I think he was originally up for the lead as well, or Adam Marcus wanted him for the John D. LeMay character. I think he would have worked fine. It was Sean Cunningham who didn't want him in there. And that's another thing. There's like a mini feud or whatever, slightly, between Sean Cunningham and Adam Marcus over like the reason this movie came about. Like Sean Cunningham deliberately, he's not a fan of the hockey mask and all that because he didn't create it. He never wanted the Friday the 13th franchise to become that, and he always wanted to escape it. So his motto with this movie, since he had the rights now, was, or he was working on this one now, was to pretty much get the Jason like character and hockey mask and all out of it and create something that's more story driven. And he was probably of the mindset of like, oh, I'll show him we can make a real story driven movie and it won't just be another silly slasher. Which, mistake, you're 9 movies into a franchise. You can't do that. Um, or you shouldn't do that. And so he told Adam Marcus, you can have the job, you can figure out a way to get the damn hockey mask out. So that's where he came up with the whole idea of body hopping and everything, which is really the only logical way to do it, to get Jason out of the movie, if that's what you're going to go for. I mean, that's your ultimatum, to get the standard look of Jason out. Which, yeah, Sean Cunningham, that was stupid. Stupid idea, Sean. Of course, Sean claims that he didn't say that in a interview or whatever at a horror convention where he's sitting next to Kane Hodder, I think, or he's around Kane Hodder. But yeah, he's bullshitting. Sean definitely said that. You can tell by the way Sean Cunningham acts. He's not really into this series. Despite the fact that he started it. And of course, you don't have to like love a property that you've created though, or whatever, in order to be good at making it. But at the same time, though, if you are a fan of something or you care about it, it generally means that you care about something more. And given Sean's like a producer or whatever, and he's supposed to be a good producer, you would think he would understand what would make the most money, and of course, that would be having, well, lots of Jason. That would probably have made this movie do better in theaters. It did decently. It made more than Jason Takes Manhattan, but it didn't like set the world on fire or nothing. I think it overall it did fine. Yeah, this movie is not a Friday the 13th movie. It's pretty much just a Jason movie about Jason, but not a Friday the 13th movie with the Friday the 13th style or the setting or anything that those types of movies really went for. Similar to Jason X, they just take the character of Jason and they just do something completely new with him. That was pretty much what New Line wanted to do with the series. They just wanted to do something totally different and fresh, or reinvent the franchise basically with each movie that they did to do something totally different with it. And that's what they did with this. That's what they did with Jason X, and even to an extent, that's what they did with Freddy vs. Jason. Even though it's much more true to the standard formula with that one, still having Freddy battle Jason or whatever shows that New Line wanted to do something totally different with each movie that they did. That's why this is more pretty much the Jason series once New Line takes over. It's no longer the Friday series. Just like how the Chucky series eventually is no longer Child's Play and it just becomes the Chucky franchise. Yeah, we got Duke here in the jail cell. I would like more Duke in this movie. He doesn't get to do quite enough, and he's the most interesting character on screen. Oh, here comes some mythology lessons here. I love that the Duke character breaks Steven's fingers for information, though. For doing exchange for information. That is hilarious. It's such a quirky, like, fun character trait to give to the Duke character. And also to show that he's slightly unhinged and an asshole. But a lovable asshole. Of course, we're about to get through a Voorhees was he born, through a Voorhees may he be reborn, and only by the hands of a Voorhees can he die. Which is all new mythology randomly thrown into this movie. But it kind of makes sense when you get more into it later on in the movie, where they find the Necronomicon in Jason's like family's home. So that obviously tells you it's supposed to imply that Jason's powers came from the Book of the Dead, from someone in his family who used it to resurrect him or whatever after his drowning. Someone that was into black magic, either the father or the mother. There's no way to know for sure. I mean, it's just automatically assumed it's the mother, and they go into that more in the Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash Nightmare Warriors comic, where they pretty much explain it that it was the mother in a flashback sequence. But in terms of this movie, though, they really don't define it, so you're just left thinking, well, it was someone in his family that brought it back, whatever. And of course, bringing Jason back with Necronomicon links this franchise directly to the Evil Dead series, and would make Jason like a monster from the Book of the Dead. I know Adam Marcus calls him a Deadite, but of course Deadite can refer to any term for any like creature from the book. Truthfully, Jason could just be any demonic entity from the book. So pretty much Jason is like transformed into a demon that has the ability to possess people and all that, and that's the reason Jason keeps surviving all his deaths because, well, he's magical. So he can't be killed, except by this special Necronomicon dagger, which is also from the Evil Dead movies. And was used in Ash vs. Evil Dead, the series, to kill the Deadites, so it makes sense it would be used here to kill Jason, even though this was before Ash vs. Evil Dead. Of course, it begs the question of how the hell does Duke know all this? But at this point in the movie, you're just pretty much left with the idea of like, well, he's a bounty hunter, maybe he's studied the occult or some shit. Who knows? At the end of the movie, there was going to be a scene where Duke explains his backstory that set sometime before the second movie. He was out boating on Crystal Lake with his fiance, and she was like killed by Jason and drugged under the water, never seen again. And Duke managed to survive, and ever since then, he's been dedicated himself to like understanding and figuring out what Jason is and studying the cult and all that shit in order to eventually kill Jason. So yeah, that scene would have made sense. It would have been good for the movie to add to his character, but it was originally at the climax of the movie when he was talking to the girlfriend or whatever of the Stephen Freeman character, or ex-girlfriend, if you want to call her that. But it was originally supposed to be there, but since they deleted it, which is probably for pacing, it's probably Sean Cunningham had it took out. Since they took it out of there, you're left wondering like, well, what the fuck? How does he know all this? So yeah, you're just left thinking he's just some bounty hunter that just studies the shit out of Jason. Though it would have made it better if he would have had more of a personal connection, and that scene would have been left in. That would have enhanced the movie. But yeah, I don't really think you can compare this movie to the other like first eight because it's not going for anything like those first eight movies. Of course, we got Leslie Jordan here as the cook, who's married to the Joey B character here, Rusty Schwimmer, I believe. They got a son here working in the diner. I think Leslie Jordan recently passed away like last year or maybe the year before, but yeah, he's likable in this movie. He does a good job. What I do like about this flick is that they give a little bit more character to some of the characters and all that. Unlike the standard Friday 13th movies that don't have much story, they do try to give more story here, which I do appreciate. But this movie, it loses the pure fun, like popcorn quality of the standard Friday 13th movies. Instead, going for much more of a story driven, mythology based possession flick. Which is fine. I think this movie works as its own horror movie. But in connection with the first eight Friday 13th, it feels incredibly out of place. But every one of these franchises seems to have a movie like this. You got Halloween 3, uh, Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I mean, there's always one in each franchise that just feels really out of place. Yeah, we get a good character scene right here where Ward, the character Ward, who's the son of the diner owners, who's friends with Steven or whatever, like, gives him his car keys and tells him to get the hell out of there. Nice little character drama interaction here. Oh, we're back at the Voorhees house here. Of course, the Stephen Freeman character here, played by John D. LeMay, walks around wearing like his sports jacket or whatever. I think it's like a football jacket or jersey, which is hard for me to picture like John D. LeMay on the football team or on the sports team because he's a very tiny dude. Here comes the Necronomicon cameo. It would have been great if they could have got the Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash movie off the ground, but sadly it just wasn't meant to be. I love seeing the Necronomicon here. Which hints that someone in Jason's family or whatever gave him the power that he has. Which makes sense in context of this movie. Oh, we got the sleazy tabloid reporter showing up here. He's next to fall under the spell of Jason. Not a lot of nudity in this one. It could have used a little more. Of course, calling this film the Final Friday really doesn't mean shit at this point in the series, because they just keep making them. Yep, you're screwed, Robert. I will say this, they really do treat this movie like it is the last one in the series. They try to treat it that way. But once again, at the same time, last one in the series doesn't mean shit in terms of the Friday the 13th franchise or any horror franchise. Like, Halloween ends, it's like, no shit, there's going to be another reboot. I love this melting scene here, though, of the cop's body after Jason's used up all the life force in it. It's pretty cool. Great effects. Jason has now become a 90s tabloid journalist. Or tabloid reporter, I mean. At this point in the series, like this whole Jessica character right here, who's like the ex-girlfriend of the Steven character, she hasn't really done much of nothing. So, I mean, Steven's pretty much the hero of this movie. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you could like some of these characters could just like easily taken out of here. The story could be rewritten to where it plays smoother. Yeah, if you can embrace the New Line films for what they are, like just doing something totally different with Jason, becoming like the Jason series instead of the Friday 13th series, where they just put Jason into like different types of movies in each one, then I think this movie is enjoyable if you can watch it in that mindset. This is pretty much Jason meets a demonic possession, Evil Dead type flick. Steven to the rescue. He lost the glasses. He's turned into Superman now. Oh, we got a butt shot from Jessica. Not bad. Oh shit, it's the possessed J-Man. Yeah, when the guy who plays the reporter in this, or whatever, Robert, or Stephen, what the hell is his name? Stephen Colt, maybe? But, the actor, he does the best job in terms of the movie of the possessed people who's Jason, mostly because he gets the best, like, sequences. He plays it very much like a T-1000 Terminator type thing. I mean, given that this was marketed as like the supposed final one, it is a good thing that they do try to like delve more into Jason's character and all that, and history and powers and shit. But at the same time, they do reinvent it way too much. This doesn't work as a Friday the 13th movie, as I've already said, but I think it works as a Jason movie with him in just a different type of movie. Sorry, Steven, she ran off and left you. Of course, here we get the return of Randy, Steven's friend, who's mad at him for taking his gun and locking him in the cell. Of course, Steven thinks he's going to be happy to see him, until he gets punched. Oh, they both got guns. Standoff time. Uh-oh. Now he's going to attempt to put himself inside the Jessica character. Oh, Billy Greenbush to the rescue. So Jason gives him a nose break. Oh, here comes the two cops getting their heads smashed together. This is a great kill. And we finally get Duke escaping. I would have liked more Duke in this movie. Meanwhile, at Joey B's diner, see, Jason's just going to kill everybody in this diner, not because he's hunting after Jessica and the baby to be reborn, but also because they're making money off his name. I mean, clearly the Voorhees burgers, the Voorhees fingers, and all that shit, they're making money off his image. So instead of suing, Jason's just going to kill him. Yeah, I love when Jason like snaps the dude's wrists and his bones stick out. That's cool. Oh snap! The T1000 version of Jason's in the diner. There's like another waitress in this diner that we see for a brief second. She was like in front of the door, and then she just like kind of disappears. I think there was some like cut moments during this action sequence because I know there's a publicity still or something like that where it's got a scene where the possessed Jason person here has like a meat cleaver in his back where somebody hit him in the back with a cleaver. So clearly they deleted something from this sequence here. I love it when he knocks her face in though, the big fat diner chick. That's hilarious. I really like Allison Smith here, who plays the red-haired waitress. She doesn't get a lot to do in the movie, but when she does show up and start fighting, you really believe that she's friends with the Jessica chick, and she kicks ass. She could have been the star of the movie as well, or I mean, she could have been in the female lead. I won't see it here, but in the unrated version, after he stabs her through with the poker as well, he squeezes her skull, and it shoots up to the ceiling. Awesome kill. And honestly, I would say that kill is probably my favorite of the franchise up until this moment, up until this movie. I mean, in the unrated version, when he squeezes her head too after impaling her with the poker and it shoots to the ceiling, that's awesome. This movie was pretty much a horror movie version of the MCU before the MCU came out because part of the goal of this movie is to like set up a universe where all this horror stuff can take place, including Jason. And I think the movie does a good job of it. I mean, of course, Jessica looks kind of stupid here. The fact that she read this note left by Duke about having to come to the Voorhees house alone by herself because he has her baby. I mean, everything that Steven's done to protect her thus far, you would think that she would just bring him with her anyway. It's kind of stupid that she doesn't. But I do like that Steven finds a machete in the diner, though. We need a good machete in this movie. It's been a while. And now the Jessica character is starting to come into her own and be more of a fighter. I also appreciate that because she's been pretty useless in terms of this movie up until now. This was when the Duke backstory scene was supposed to be. Taking it out of here was a mistake. I don't care what pacing reasons they came up with. You don't remove a character's entire reason for being in the friggin' movie. Yeah, I like that they bring the dagger from Evil Dead in here as the weapon that can kill Jason, implying that Jason is a demonic entity from the Book of the Dead, that he was turned into it by his mother, using it to resurrect him. It makes sense in a horror movie logic, in terms of like, because that's what this movie's mission is, part of it. It's not just to end Jason, but it's to build a horror movie universe, basically, in order to build a horror mythology for Jason that would make sense in a horror movie world. So I think if you go into this movie knowing that it's not going to be a standard Friday the 13th, and knowing that its mission is to create a horror universe, I think if you know that, then I think you'll enjoy it, if you can accept it for that. But if you want a Friday the 13th film, this film is not going to satisfy you. I still miss Kane Hodder as Jason, though. At this point in the movie, I'm still missing him. Even though I've accepted the body hopping thing at this point. Also, I will say, if you go into this movie and you don't know shit about the Evil Dead, you will probably be lost in terms of the universe they're building here. Like, if you only know the Jason franchise and you don't know the Evil Dead flicks, you won't know what the fuck's going on. I don't like the fact that both people talk here, including the one that Jason's possessed. That's kind of a cop out. I know Adam Marcus says we couldn't think of any other way to do the scene. Well, just don't do the scene. You don't need to do the scene. Just come up with a different way for her to lose the dagger. Jason trying to be reborn to the baby. Neck slash with the machete. Here comes Jason's heart, which is his true form, which is a demon that carries his spirit. I like that the Steven character just slings the shit out of the little Jason demon. Of course, there was a cool scene here that was deleted that I restored in my extended cut of this movie that I made with some of the deleted footage, where the demon Jason grows into like a big size, full size demon Jason, and it has like a missing eye just like Jason does. And then the Duke character pulls it down into the basement, and then that's when it goes inside the dead half sister's body or whatever and becomes reborn. That sequence was cool. Once again, probably deleted because of pacing, but that could have been left in. That was a cool sequence and gave Duke something else to do. And the Arctic expedition crate down there in the basement or whatever from the movie Creepshow, of course. Of course, we get the Duke line there. Remember me? It's like, remember you from where? It's like, yeah, there's some backstory here with Duke and Jason that, of course, was deleted from the movie. I've mentioned what it was already, but deleting it from the movie, it's like, well, what the hell? How do they know each other? Yeah, that hurts the movie. This is a fun fight scene between Jason and the John D. LeMay character. I like that Steven kicks Jason in the nuts. Of course, Jason does play around a little bit too long here with John D. LeMay. When he picked him up and threw him in the jungle gym, he could have killed him right there and just punched a hole through his chest if he felt like it. Jason playing around with the victim is a little different. I mean, he did play around with the boxer in part 8, but at this point in the movie, though, it does feel a little weird. Of course, that gives the ex-girlfriend character time to stab the shit out of Jason with the dagger, thus ending his ass. Oh, the magic dagger is only halfway in. It needs to be pushed all the way in, straight into the heart. Steven is beating the shit out of Jason now, who's wounded from the magic dagger. And the chick's gonna kick it in. I like that they work together to take Jason out. Here comes the hands from hell. Now, originally in this scene, it was going to be actual little demons come out and pull Jason down. Once again, why they took that out, I have no idea. I hate this spot this part right here, because the Steven character who's done everything in the movie to save his woman, she's like hesitating to help him or something. It's like, what the fuck? What else does this man have to do? I like the light show when Jason going to hell at the end here too. And they walk off into the sunset to probably go fill out 8 hours worth of police reports. Jason's mask is the only thing left. Until the dog unearths it. Of course, this ending is great here. Seeing Freddy's glove come out of there and pull Jason's mask to hell. Of course, the Freddy arm is actually Kane Hodder's arm, but still though, and hearing the Freddy laugh or whatever, this is great. Great ending for the movie. Yeah, overall, I'd give this a 3 out of 4. I still like this movie. I like it for what it is. It's not a good Friday the 13th movie, but it's a good standalone Jason movie of Jason like combined with like something like The Hidden and Evil Dead. I think it works for what it is. Yeah, 3 out of 4. Good horror movie. I enjoy it. I think it's fun with great gore. And yeah, so that's my pretty much my commentary. Well, that is my commentary for Jason Goes to Hell. Thank you guys for being here, and if you followed along and listened along, and I will see you again with Jason X. Peace out, everybody.